Hey everyone, we are looking at finding the surface area of rectangular prisms today. Before we look at the formulas, let's review some basics of rectangular prisms. So we're going to start here, we're going to shade the bases, and then we are going to also label the height of each of these prisms. So remember, rectangular prisms are special because all of their faces are rectangles. So you can use any two of the opposite faces as the bases. I like to use the bottom and the top. That just makes most sense to me. So you'll see me doing that most of the time. And then that would make the vertical distance the height. So I'm going to do the same thing here, use the bottom and the top as my bases, and that'll make the vertical distance the height. Same thing here, this bottom rectangle and this top rectangle I'm going to use as my bases, which makes the height the vertical distance. I'm going to change it up on this one. So you could technically use this as the base as well because they are parallel and congruent faces across from each other. That would just make this distance connecting the bases the height instead. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to use some of the side faces as the bases, which makes this distance right here the height connecting them. Okay, so now that we've reviewed basics of rectangular prisms, we're able to look at where the formulas come from. So the lateral surface area of any prism, but today we're just looking at rectangular prisms, is perimeter times height. And lateral surface area does not include the bases. Does not include bases. So it's the other four rectangles besides the bases. And the way you find it is by doing the perimeter of the base, that's what the capital P is, times the height. And remember, the height connects the bases. So let's look at that a little bit more here. The lateral surface area would be all of this part that I'm shading, just not the bases, because lateral surface area doesn't include the bases. So if I unfold that rectangle, there's my other base. If I unfold the rectangle, here's the net of it. There's the two bases, and the lateral surface area is the other four rectangles that connect them, which just makes this large rectangle right here. So I basically am just finding the area of this long rectangle. And we know to find the area of a rectangle, you do the length times the width. So this width connects my bases, so that's the height. Let's look at where this length comes from. So that length is actually the perimeter of the base. When I unfold it, this distance right here is the perimeter of the base. So that is where the perimeter times the height comes from for the lateral surface area of a prism formula. We do the perimeter times the height, and then that gives us the lateral surface area. Okay, let's look at the total surface area formula. It is perimeter times height, those same faces that make the lateral surface area, but this time I add in 2b, which is area of the base. I add my bases back in. So you will need these three things to find the total surface area. You'll need perimeter of the base, the height which connects the bases, and the area of the base. And our bases are just rectangles, so you will use the length and the width for that. So we will be including the bases here whenever we find the total surface area. Something important to note about total surface area of rectangular prisms, for the perimeter and the area of the base, you use the same numbers. If you're not using the same numbers, then you are doing something wrong. Okay, so here are the three things that we will need for surface area of rectangular prisms: perimeter of the base, height, and area of the base. So let's go ahead and practice finding surface area of rectangular prisms. So here's my first one. They want me to find the lateral surface area. So I'm going to plug into the formula pH. That means we will need perimeter of the base and the height of the prism. So let's identify the base and the height. I'm going to use the bottom and the top as my bases, which makes 4 the height. So I'm going to write down 4 for the height, and then I'm actually going to cross it out because I only use that number for h right here in the formula, height of the prism. And there can be a lot of numbers to keep track of with surface area, so I'm going to make it easier on myself. I only use it here. I cross it out after I'm done. Okay, now I need to find the perimeter of the rectangular base, which is around the rectangle. So I'm going to do 2 plus 6 plus another 2 plus another 6 to find the perimeter of the base. 2 plus 6 plus 2 plus 6. 8 plus 8 is 16. So now I have everything I need for the surface area formula. I have perimeter, which is 16, and height, which is 4, so I can plug into pH. It will be 16 times 4. And 16 times 4 is 64 centimeters squared. Okay, this next one is the same shape, but I'm finding the total surface area this time. So I will use the formula pH plus 2b. So I'll still need the perimeter, I'll still need the height, but I'll also have to find the area of the base this time. So let's do the same thing. I'm going to shade my bases and circle the height of 4. And I'm going to write down 4 for the height, and then I'm going to cross it out because I'm not using it again. And now I need to find the perimeter of the rectangle, which I do by adding 2 plus 6 plus 2 plus 6, and we did that last time and got 16. Okay, now I need to find the area of the base. Remember, I use the same 2 numbers here, but I do length times width. So I'm going to multiply them. 2 times 6 is 12. And now I have everything I need for my formula. I'm going to plug in 16 for P. I'll plug in 4 for H, and then I'll plug in 12 for capital B. So it'll be 16 times 4 plus 2 times 12. And 16 times 4 plus 2 times 12 is 88. So it's the same thing as what we did on the last problem. I was just finding total surface area, so I added in the 2 bases instead this time. Okay, let's look at some different shapes. Number 3, I'm going to find the lateral surface area. So I will be finding perimeter of the base times the height. So I will need capital P and I will need H. So I need to identify my base and the height. I'm going to use the top and the bottom as the bases, which makes 4.25 my height. So I'm going to write down 4.25 for the height and then cross it out because I'm not using it again. Okay, now I need to find the perimeter of the base that I shaded. Sometimes this can be a little tricky because they put the numbers not next to each other. So I'm going to outline the perimeter and that might help us. I'm finding around the base here. So this side is 7.5 and I will add 5, another 7.5, and then another 5. So it'll be 7.5 plus 5 plus 7.5 plus 5. So 7.5 plus 5 plus 7.5 plus 5. The perimeter is 25. And now I have everything I need for the formula. Perimeter is 25. Height is 4.25. So I just multiply those together. 25 times 4.25 will tell me the lateral surface area, which is 106.25 inches squared. Okay, let's look at number 4. I need to find the total surface area. So I'm going to do pH plus 2b. So I'm going to shade my bases. I'm going to use the bottom and the top again. And the distance connecting those is 3.25, so that'll be my height. So I'll need to find perimeter of the base. I just found the height, it's 3.25. And the area of the base, I'll need to find that as well. So let's start with the perimeter of the base. I'll do 4.5 plus 2 plus 4.5 plus 2. 4.5 plus 2 plus 4.5 plus 2 is 13. Okay, now remember I use the same two numbers to find the area. To find the area, I just multiply 4.5 and 2. So 4.5 times 2 is 9. And now I have perimeter, height, and area of the base, which is all I need for my formula. So I'll do 13 times my height of 3.25 plus 2 times 9. And 13 times 3.25 plus 2 times 9 is 60.25 feet squared. Okay, number 5, I'm going to do something different this time. Remember how I've talked about how you can use any of the opposite faces for the bases. And since I'm finding the total surface area this time, it doesn't matter because I'm finding the entire outside covering. So it doesn't matter what I use as the base because it's going to be added in there no matter what. So instead of using the top and the bottom, I'm going to use these side faces as the base, which makes 10.5 the height this time. So I will be plugging in to pH plus 2b. I'll need perimeter of the base. Height, I just found it, it's 10.5, and then I'll need area of the base. So I'm going to cross out 10.5, that's the height of the prism. I'm not going to use it again. Now let's find the perimeter of the base. So I will be doing 2 plus 1.5 plus 2 plus 1.5 to find the perimeter of the base. 2 plus 1.5 plus 2 plus 1.5 and 2 plus 1.5 plus 2 plus 1.5 is 7. Okay, then area of the base, remember I use the same two numbers. I'm going to do length times width of that rectangular base. It'll be 2 times 1.5, which is 3. And now I have the three things I need to find the total surface area. So I do perimeter, which was 7, times the height, which was 10.5, plus 2 times the area of the base, which is 3. So 7 times 10.5 plus 2 times 3 is 79.5 meters squared. Okay, last one, it says a box has a length of 15 inches, a width of 10 inches, and a height of 7 inches. What is the lateral surface area of the box? So I will need to do perimeter of the base times the height. So you have to be careful in word problems. If they give you the height, then that is the dimension you have to use for the height. So I will need to find perimeter of the base, and then the height they specified was 7 inches. Now I'm going to cross that out and I'm not going to use it again. That means the dimensions of the base are 15 and 10. So you can imagine we have a rectangle like this that's 10 by 15, and I need to find the perimeter of it by adding the four sides together. So it'll be 10 plus 15 plus 10 plus 15. And 10 plus 15 plus 10 plus 15 is 50. And now I just multiply them together to find the lateral surface area. 50 times 7 is 350 inches squared.